and welcome to Dregs of Wisdom with Andrew Tanner.
Hey, what's up, friends? It is episode 6 of Dregs of Wisdom. This week, I'm just going to share some dregs with y'all because this is one of the things I do. I like to go on walks and listen to talks and listen to music or listen to audiobooks. And then I pause whenever I get an idea, like a thought comes, and I put this little dreg down in my phone and here they are. So just thought I'd share some with you today. So this first one is about why a lot of self-help work doesn't work. And if you're watching this video, you're probably interested in making your life better in some way. But I think why so much self-help work, especially with goal setting, why it doesn't work is because most people recommend starting with a vision, which I always used to do. I'd say, what's the vision you want to achieve in the future? And vision is actually fraught with delusion, because most of the time what we think we want, the vision of ourselves in the future of what we think will make us happy, is full of a desire to please other people. It's full of a desire to be accepted by other people. And it's most likely the vision that we have of ourselves where we think yeah, that's me winning. That's me in my best. That is not truly what you want. At least it hasn't been for me. And so I would just say it's much better. And if you're trying to improve your life, instead of starting with a vision, I would start with what are your values and your moral code? Not what do you want to be? What do you want other people to see you as? But how do you want to live your life? How do you want to, what values do you want to align yourself with? And then actions will start to happen naturally based on those values. And then a vision and a life will be built around those values. And I believe this to be in alignment with the Tao. So, okay, another drag of wisdom. I recently read the book Outlived by Peter Attia. He's a doctor who focuses on longevity. And I think it's a pretty courageous book. He admits in the book what an asshole he was in his life about 5 years earlier from writing when the book is published. He admits some pretty vulnerable stuff about himself that I was shocked to find out, literally. And actually, I found that to be the most compelling part of the book, that when he admitted honestly what kind of terrible person he was. Because I think we automatically assume that people who are online talking about healthy living and this and that they're just these pinnacles of moral virtue. So I thought I was most impressed with that. Thank you, Peter, for being vulnerable and open. I'm always interested with self-help people when they think about what is the order of operations to improve your life? And I looked at his book, and kind of his order of operations are exercise, food, sleep, then emotional health. And that's the order that he kind of talks about things in his book. And I'm really interested in order of operations because when your life when you feel like you're in a rut, how do you get out of that rut? Which of these kind of self-help things do you turn to get out of that rut, to turn things around? I'm really important in what's the most, or I'm really interested in what's the most linchpin habit? What's the thing you want to focus on the most? So for me, actually, it's cleaning my house. If I am in a rut of some kind and I clean my house, I know that that's going to help clear my mind. Then the second thing is clearing my mind before bed. So if I just shut my phone off and kind of shut things down early at night, and that helps me get better sleep. And so that getting better sleep, it just kind of propels me through everything else. And I used to say sleep was my most important kind of habit to master. But what I realized was in order to get good sleep, I have to clean, and then I have to shut phone down, shut things down earlier. So I will say with that dreg of wisdom around Peter Attia's book, I thought one of the weaknesses of the book is that he put emotional health as the last thing to focus on, as opposed to the first thing. And I do think that this is a conundrum that a lot of people face. Most people that are really into exercise and eating well and sleeping well, they end up creating an emotional attachment to those things. And then other people that don't want to do any exercise or whatever, and they just like, I only want to exercise when I feel good or when I feel like it, which is never, they create an emotional attachment to not doing work. And what I would say is missing from his book, and is really missing from most self-help books, is the concept of surrender and surrendering one's ego, the small self, to the divine, to God, to whatever you want to call it. Because when he talks about emotional health, really, he doesn't explicitly say this, but he explains that he starts getting more emotionally healthy when he starts to become vulnerable and is willing to talk about his past traumas and things in his life. And that process of being vulnerable is the process of surrendering to the grace that is within us and all around us. And I would argue that that's actually the number one. That's the linchpin habit, surrendering to grace. And then naturally, whatever the right action to do is will happen. So this brings me to our third Dreg of Wisdom. I've been teaching some lectures on the Bhagavad Gita lately in a teacher training program. And chapter 12 of the Bhagavad Gita, which is called The Way of Divine Love, Krishna, who's like an avatar of Vishnu, he's like a Christ figure, like God incarnated in a human body, is talking to Arjuna, who is a student, who is the spiritual seeker, someone confused about what to do with their life. And they're having this conversation about what is the best path to take. And Krishna says, he lays out like 8 different paths you could take. One is to, be doing right action. Another one is to have knowledge. Another one is to learn to meditate. And then he says, but better is to do all of these things with your mind on God. Essentially, he's saying like whether you could meditate or not, or you could do your job, or you could not do your job. But if you're doing your job, whatever it is in the world, maybe you're a shoemaker, maybe you're an Arjuna, you're a warrior. If you do that where you are surrendering, I like to say surrendering to grace, the grace that is within us and all around us. If you do anything with a sense of surrender, then it brings immediate peace. And if I had to say what the core teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is, I would say that is it. I would also add that the Gita talks a lot about doing your allotted action in life, whatever you're meant to do, but with that sense of surrender. And I think when a lot of people stop acting in life, when they stop doing whatever it is, their role that they've been required to do by life, it's because they're questioning kind of the meaning of that role, or whether that's really bringing happiness, or why they're doing this role. And I think that there's nothing wrong with questioning that, but at a certain point, the only thing that brings peace is surrendering to grace and then moving forward. And it doesn't mean you have to keep doing the same action over and over again in your life. You don't have to keep the same job. You don't have to stay with the same partner. You don't have to, all those things. You can make changes, of course. But no matter what, the only thing that brings peace is the acceptance of reality as it is. Religion is for people who are afraid of hell. Spirituality is for people who have been there. I think that was first said in some form by Alan Watts. I'm sure people have said that before. But I would just say, as someone who studied a lot of religious texts in college critically, as a religious studies major at NYU, what I feel about religion is that religion is when you take spiritual ideas, you try to codify them into some kind of either written or system of rules and whatnot, and it turns into a system of power and control. Whereas spirituality is one's individual relationship with the grace that is within us and all around us. And I vote for that. Okay. 2 more dregs, and then we'll call it a day. I talked a little bit about sleep before. A good way of thinking about how to get better sleep is to evict the 21st century from your bedroom. So light is your enemy, especially blue light, like this evil box of devil food right here. I think candles need to come back. Recently, I bought these salt lamps, Tibetan salt lamps, and I put them in my room, put them in my kids' room. And it is so awesome to come upstairs at 8 o'clock at night, shut off all the lights, only have the salt lamps going, and the mood and the vibe that creates, it just makes it way easier to sleep. For me, I call this my super sobriety. This is like, if I really want to get a great night's sleep, I do no screens 2 hours before sleep, no alcohol, which I haven't done in a long time anyways. Don't eat 3 hours before bed. Avoid anxiety an hour before bed. And I like to do a hot shower before bed and then have the room be cool, like mid 60s, low 60s. I have blackout curtains and or little blackout goggles. And I try to wake up at the same time every day. Haven't been great at that recently, but everything else is good. Oh, yeah. And one more thing, alarm clocks. Did you ever wonder why as a kid they always had red light? But then lately, I don't know if you've known this, there's the last, 5 or 6 years, there's like a movement towards these blue light alarm clocks. And I just think that's a movement in the wrong direction. Like, go back to the red light alarm clock. And if you can, turn it away from you at night. Okay. So those are some dregs of wisdom for you. I've got way more from this week, but we'll save them for another video. Yeah, if you have anything to share, please put it in the comments. If you have questions, pop them in there. Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And thanks for listening. We'll see you again next week. Peace.